Hey everyone, and welcome to the $1 Billion Banker podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Perrone, and today I'm so excited to have a close personal friend and neighbor, which I'm like, we're talking one day, I'm going to be like, she was my neighbor, Julia Au here. Julia, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's so good to be here, Nicole. Thank you for the invite.
I'm glad we're here together. And guys, you're going to want to listen to this because this is an incredible story. The second I met Julia, I knew like I could just sit there talking to her forever and picking her brain. Julia is the CEO and co-founder of Tempaper, which is basically an international temporary wallpaper solution for people. And you're all over the country in all of the big retailers across the world. Now we're talking, you're in Japan, big business in Japan. And she started this business at 23 years old. And I want to hear the story right from the beginning. So tell us about how this started.
It is a story. It is. And it's honestly, it's been a great story. I mean, just to be where we are today from where we came from. I mean, I founded the business with my twin sister and we're best friends, which is amazing. But
still best friends.
Yes.
Even after all those years in business.
We still are best friends. But believe it or not, our aunt was a very prominent set decorator in Manhattan. So she did a lot of commercials, TV, movies. She was in charge of making sure the vision came to life. And
That's awesome.
She used to take us on set with her constantly. So we used to travel. Back when I was in college, I think I was a PA where I would drive her around. She'd get prop shopping. Anyway, she was on set one day and she had one of those moments where she sat there for like 8 hours and watched all these scenics try to take off wallpaper. Like she had to redecorate the set. She had a bunch of people waiting. They were going over budget. And she said to herself, why does wallpaper have to be so difficult to remove? Like, this is ridiculous. Someone needs to come up with it. So she was like a genius when it came to the internet, like finding solutions for things. She went online. She's like, I'm going to find wallpaper I can use in my sets that can come down easily. She couldn't find it. It did not exist. And she sat there, I think, one night and just said, this is something we have to do. We were super close with my aunt. And at the time, believe it or not, living in France, we were teaching English. And she called us up one day and she said, I know what we're going to do in life. And I was like, do you? You know, I thought I'm doing it. Traveling, teaching, this is great. Yeah. She goes, no, we're gonna start a removable wallpaper company and we're gonna call it Tempaper. I want you to come home and have a proper business meeting with me. And we did. Incredible. We literally did. We flew to New York. We met with her once and she said, we need a business plan. We need to, make this happen. So my sister and I spent a week in an apartment. We read every wallpaper book we could find to educate ourselves about it. And then we wrote a business plan. And to this day, we still reference it because a lot of the pieces that we talked about came to life. But so that's kind of how the story happened. But I mean, it wasn't always smooth sailing. It didn't just take off on its own. I mean, it was a lot of hard work. But I mean, I think we look back and we're just really happy, where we are today.
That's incredible. What a story too. And you were at this time, you were in your early 20s?
I was in my early 20s, trying to figure out what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. I mean, we always planned on living in New York, and I was going on job interview after job interview, even when I was still like dancing with the idea of like really committing to the company. And I would go on these job interviews and they'd say to me, at the very end, like, what's your 5-year plan? Or where do you see yourself in the future? And I would answer like owning my own business. And they were just probably look at me like, well, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And it just kept coming out of my mouth. And one night we just had this moment because when you start a company, and I'm sure everybody talks about it, like you have to go, like you got to put your foot on the gas and you have to do it, but you have to make that commitment. Yeah. And until you do it, you're going to dance around, should I do it? Should I not?
Should I not?
And for us, it was one night we just looked at each other and we made business cards. That's literally what it took. And that's it. We never looked back.
That's it. We're committed.
I stopped interviewing and I was like, this isn't going to work. I'm going to, and we just did it.
I'm thinking of so many questions like as I hear this because I know where you are now and I can't wait for our viewers to hear more about what you've grown this company into and you could tell us as much as you want about not just the product and the service and also your business growth too, because it's so impressive what you and your sister have accomplished. But like, I'm thinking to myself, did you have to sacrifice a lot at a young age to really commit to this?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we lived in New York City in, 2000, probably 2007 through, 12, 15, whatever. And I mean, it's expensive, right? You're living and, we had a lot of friends that were in corporate America and they were, doing their 9 to 5. And I spent nights bartending. So this is how I did it. I did nights bartending so I would make as much cash as I possibly could and days on the company. I mean, did I live? Yes, of course. I mean, I was young. I had energy, but my sister, I remember to this day when we got sample orders, she was, in our apartment trimming samples, like on her hands and knees. I mean, we literally did it from the ground up. So
wow, that's amazing.
there's
So
tons of sacrifice there.
a lot, right? You know, when I think about the audience, and I always try to think about the audience when we're doing these, is because these are inspiring stories. Not everybody gets to connect with someone like you or someone that's had a lot of success in their life. And I think some of the stories kind of have the same themes, right? That there is a lot of sacrifice. There is this level of commitment that you have to have and grit. And so can you walk us through like the beginning? Like, so you got that business card, you're like in your early 20s, you're starting this business, you patented.
I did patent it outside of finding the product, right? So wallpaper has been around for centuries, and our goal was to revitalize the industry, the category, and make it so, wallpaper back then was just a book program where you would walk into a Home Depot, you would flip through the book, you would find your pattern, you would order it, you'd wait weeks for it to arrive. That was wallpaper, right? And it was stale. I mean, the market had crashed. It was 2008 when we hit the market. Yeah. So our goal, and we were young and we were like, that's not fun. We're here, we're on sets. You want instant gratification. You want to go in and just have a moment where you want to redo something. So for us, it was really revitalizing the category. So it was making it available to a consumer on a mass level. And for us, it was online, which back then wasn't what it was today. And it was just ensuring that we got it in the hands of every consumer that could use it.
How did you know how to get this made? Like what?
So I found suppliers. Process. So I literally used the internet and I just started searching, and I honestly, was it peel and stick? Was it removable? And it went from one company, I know, maybe we could do that, to another, where I finally landed on our supplier. And honestly, we've been working with them ever since.
You're hey, I want it. This is what I want to make.
At the time, I was really nervous to be very transparent with what I wanted because I didn't have a
sign
patent,
an NDA, right?
And it didn't make sense to me why this didn't exist. So for me, I was trying to be like, it's for sets. Like we just need to put stuff up, take it down. I wasn't like, hey, I've got a big thing.
I have a revolution.
Oh my God. It's like, and my friends still tease me because I was super, super private about it because we still couldn't wrap our heads around why nobody was doing this. So, but
do you see ideas like all around you now? Like, is your mind generally like that? Like, oh my God, someone needs to come up with this.
I think we do a lot of thought. We lay in bed and have lots of thoughts. Yeah. And it's, it's a lot of different ways we can enhance the company. And that's the thing about this. Your wheels are constantly
evolving.
Constantly.
Yeah. It's not like you get to the top of the mountain, you're there. Now it's like, now you're on cruise control. You have to stay there and maintain that momentum.
And no, we always thought, if we get to this revenue or that revenue, we would be happy. But it's,
and you got more expenses.
I was just to say more money, more problems. It's the truth. Yeah. But for us, we just didn't understand why it didn't exist. But once I found the supplier and I locked up a patent. I had an exclusive contract drawn because I just knew if the product, worked as well as the testing and everything we had, like I didn't want them to sell to anybody else. So I just made sure our ducks were in a row. So the funny thing is my sister is very creative and she always has been. And I've always been on the business side, finance, money. I loved numbers as a kid. Like that was my jam. And she always was like a great writer and very poetic and just creative. So right from day one, we never sat and we're like, you're going to do this and we just morphed into what we do today.
Starting to your strengths.
Yeah. For me, I was like, we need patents, copyrights, we need exclusive contracts with our suppliers. And so I focused first on making sure we were buttoned up. Okay. And then we started working through, how to print it. We contacted all the major printers in the nation that did printed wallpaper. So our process, while it's the state of the art material, it's really printed through like the traditional copper plate engraving, it's called, method of printing wallpaper. So we've kept the integrity of it, the metallics, the textures. But again, we've just made it so it's a much easier process to install and then ultimately remove.
That's amazing. So the audience understands, like you literally, can someone do this themselves or do you have to get an installer?
So when the market crashed and, we were like, all right, we have to really market and advertise this correctly. It's, our whole thing was this is DIY. I mean, we were the first DIY.
You could just peel this off like a sticker.
Yeah,
right?
That's our authentic grass, and we'll get to that. That's been the evolution of the brand. But this one, yes, this is our peel and stick, which it's essentially a vinyl, and there's a back liner that you peel down. It exposes our removable patented adhesive. You install it if you.
Heavy.
It is, and that's volume 1. We have volume 2 as well.
Damn.
So yeah, you peel the back liner off. You put it on the wall. If you make a mistake, you're not sliding it into place, which is how you would do traditional wallpaper. You're peeling it on and off. And then once you get it stuck or, adhered correctly, It stays up indefinitely as long as you like. But ultimately, when you go to remove it, it's a much easier process.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely amazing because like every time we talk about your product, I'm like, I need to like be sticking this all over my house.
It's addicting. Oh my God.
Like you want it, like, especially on set. Like you talked about how it started with on sets. I think of like podcasts in your office. Everybody's office is a studio now.
Yep.
Like they have like the lighting, like you need this behind you.
That's your background. That's your Zoom background.
Yeah. I got to pick one out and do that. But so now it's like, not only did you start a company at such a young age with family, which usually can be challenging or difficult, but you started like a brand new idea. You're like an inventor. You created something and like nobody to really follow a footprint off.
Well, that was it. And we did it in a way where, like I said, we wanted to revitalize it. And you know, it took us years to actually get to a point where we were even making money. And honestly, it came from a phone call one day.
I was going to say, like, what was the initial response from consumers?
Well, so we'd go to trade shows and we literally would drive to all of them in the country and we'd set up, break down, do that whole thing. But what really got us, and not only did we just passionately believe in it, like truly believe this was a great idea, but I saw like the twinkle in the eyes, you know, when a designer would walk up and be like, oh, I don't want wallpaper. I'd be like, wait, give it a second.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, well, it's removable. It's peels, you know, they'd be like, what? And like, I could just see like, and I can't count how many times someone said, why didn't I come up with this? You know, why, you know,
well, I was
so the
gonna
reaction
say, it's
was there.
Yeah. It's so easy when you look back. You're like, you think about like Daniela was just saying to me the other day, she's like, I used to straighten my hair with an iron. I'm like, you sound like my mom. Like, you're not that old. Like,
That's
but
really
when you
funny,
look back,
though.
you're like, how did people not think to invent the flat iron?
You're right. And that's what I think are the best products. The ones that make it is the ones that are, they're useful, right? Like we could not seriously iron our hair forever, right?
Right.
But there's a need for them. Like there was truly a need for this because now wallpaper, and I hope everyone who's following loves wallpaper, but it's big. It's back and it's bigger than ever. It's in every major chain stores.
Walls.
You're using it for events. You're using it for weddings. You know how many weddings we do? Like they could never do wallpaper.
Oh, yeah. That's
you know,
a great
and
idea.
our idea was, you know, New York City white wall apartments. This is great for that.
Yeah.
Even if you own a home, you don't have to invest and it's affordable, it's accessible. So we really went, you know, we checked all the boxes, but yeah, it's been a process, but we're super proud of where it is today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so incredible. Now, how do you choose the designs? Like, is that what your sister?
So my sister, Jennifer, I have to give her all the credit. And actually Amanda, who's been our art director since day one. Okay. We've had the same art team and that's how I think our aesthetic and our brand has stayed true to itself, which we've heard from a lot of people. Like we do have our design. And it's noticeable and it carries through to every pattern that we do. But yeah, they trends, a lot of trend watching, a lot of just things that we're missing. We listen to our consumers. We make sure we have something that nobody else has. We try to take it a step further. We don't cut corners. That's a big thing. I think people that just want to launch and just get stuff out there, take advantage of a hot category, you know, people will know, you know. I think when you're really truly focused on things and making the quality and doing it right, it shines through and people can see that.
Yeah. So because you have like this, you kind of, you're on brand, I guess, as people would say, and you have this a longer term kind of, but you've expanded a few times into different categories.
We have. Well,
too.
So our first big, outside of just having our e-com site early on and focusing on trade shows and just any web, you know, we've expanded into retail. We do a lot of private labeling now. So a lot of the major retailers, we design wallpaper and produce and manufacture for them. So Target being our first, back in 2013.
So when you see this at Target, you can think of Julia and the podcast. And
yeah, we won their Opal House brands, Thresholds. We've done Pillow Fort. We've done a lot of their brands. But, you know, we've been working with them on trends forecasting and just, you know, what does the consumer need next? So that's always helpful to be in touch with the major retailers and know what the consumer wants. So we designed, you know, our Epitomis brand, like our Tempaper brand, but then we do a ton of other brands in private labeling that kind of fly under the radar, which we're okay with.
Yeah, that's good too. Yeah. So now tell the audience what other retailers can you find Tempaper in?
So you can find us in a lot of independent stores throughout the country from the Tempaper brand. We just launched this January with Kohl's. So Tempaper is found in 700 Kohl's today. We also have all of our peel and stick wallpaper books are found in the Sherman-Williams locations, which is huge because they didn't carry peel and stick wallpaper outside of, you know, independent mom and pops that we sell to as well. And then we private label for Target, Walmart, and then all the major online. You can find us in Anthropology, to Wayfair,
Who do we want next? We'll tag them. Like,
yeah,
where do
right. We got to
be
put it out in the
next?
universe.
Yeah,
Kohl's
that's
was
it.
one I really wanted, so I was excited.
Is Bed Bath & Beyond still around? Is that
No,
like a thing?
we did programs with Bed Bath. We've done programs with JCPenney, like in and outs. So a lot of times back to college, we'll do a short-lived program for just students that need to go into stores. But, the evolution and kind of COVID's kind of changed the landscape a bit. But we got a couple things cooking that we're excited about.
That's really cool.
That we're trying to, come to fruition.
You have some stuff coming next.
Yeah, we
That's
do.
really exciting. Did you expand at some point into rugs as well? Artisan
We did.
rugs?
So our Tempaper was always our brand, and we did a Tempaper & Co. rebrand to allow us to take pattern to, other home decor products. We were constantly being asked, like, oh my God, I love this pattern. I would love it in a rug, or, and so again, listening to your consumer is the best way to do it. We said, why don't we launch rugs? We go to all the major trade shows. We have a ton of friends in different categories that just own companies. And, we had a really, really good partnership that produces our rugs for us. And it was a fun process. So yeah, now we have rugs.
I'm hearing a couple themes as you're talking. Number one, when you think about opening a business, like you find the buyer first, right? You don't think of the product and then go look for the buyer. Like you found a need in the market. And then you fulfilled that need, and which took a lot of time, effort, energy, research. And then, as you just said right now, like just continuing to listen to the client
it's important.
is really important.
It is. It's important. I think, the consumer today speaks very loudly, whether it's a review, an email, a phone call,
True.
They're not afraid to tell you what they want. And I think it's important to listen because they are guiding sales and products that are popular, right?
Right. And it's like they have the input. They're almost like kind of like the board of directors. You're like testing everything with them.
Yeah, if you're a consumer brand, I think it's funny because, obviously there's people behind the scenes doing a lot for the products that are on the market today, and but if you're a consumer brand, it's you have to, there's a whole element of sustainability that you have to focus on. Also, like, I think it's important to show who you are as a brand. Jen and I were never the faces of Tempaper because we were always behind the scenes doing so much. So we're really trying to get out there more and just show people like, hey, we're people too.
Right.
We're women.
Who are the owners?
Who are the owners? Because, I don't think the consumer just wants to buy from a corporate America company. I think it's important to them,
I agree. I think it's, especially in the evolution of like podcasting and short video and all these other things that we do, it's one of those things where I think the more that people want to know who's behind the brand, who inspired the brand. I always think about like Versace's story. I don't know if you like ever heard of his story when he was like a little kid. And I told this like twice already. But when he was a little kid, he liked to sew. His mom was like a seamstress. And so he always saw her making clothes. Then he wanted to go make clothes. And the dad was like, I don't want you to make clothes. Like, no. But so the mom would like sneak him in and like, come on, let's make stuff together. And he's like Versace. And anyway, his story was just amazing because he's a little kid that didn't really like the quintessential boy stuff and started designing clothes. And his mom really embraced his strengths. And I just thought that was such a cool story.
It is a cool story.
Obviously, he tragically, passed away, but I thought that like his come up was really cool.
And that's the thing I think about business and like entrepreneurship. It's just, there's so many cool stories out there. And I think what you're doing is amazing because you're telling them.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes hard to tell it. You know?
You don't get to meet, everyone's in networking environments and get to meeting different people. So that, the podcast world's a great place to learn and listen. I want to talk about the company a little bit. So where is the company today? How many employees do you have?
So I think we have about 25 employees just in-house. We have, which is located in New Jersey. We have 2 printing facilities, one down south, one's in Pennsylvania. Okay. And we have our manufacturer out west that does our product. So we have domestic supply chain, which I'm very proud of. And we have been since day one, but it's obviously, coming in handy right now. But
that's great.
So we have a very,
we talked about that.
we have a very, there's a lot we could talk about with that. But we have a very strong supply chain, and these have been partners to us since 15 years. And so we're very close with them on a personal level, but also a business. There's a lot of respect there. So, and our team is fabulous. I think, we've had the same team members for a long time. We don't have big turnover. They become a part of the family, but there is a level of respect there that I think we've mastered, because it's hard, you can get close. We are an intimate, small company, technically, personnel wise.
That leadership and that management.
Yeah. We try to hire people that don't need maintaining, we want thinkers, we want people like us. I mean, go-getters. I mean, and definitely someone specializes in what they do. I say you're only as good as the people around you.
Yeah, smart. So because I think about just the progression of being in business, like having the idea, opening the company, doing the research, finding the manufacturers, like getting the patents. But then as you grow and evolve, now it's about like hiring employees and managing staff. Can you tell us, like, are there any tips that you have for people that are at this transition point in their business where they are getting to that level where it's like, how do I be a good leader too? I had a great idea. I got it started.
Think more than ever, you have to be true to who you are. And you have to not be afraid to speak your mind, because I think there is a fine line between giving feedback, and doing it direct. But I think that's super important. But I think something we think about a lot is making sure you bring personnel. Like a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't know if I can afford that. I can't hire that position yet. Hire them, because you'll figure out a way and you will see the growth happen. You will see. I mean, we look back, I'm like, I can't believe we waited so long for this. This is, oh my God, a godsend. Like this person is going to change our world. And they do. And it takes less off of your tactical plate, and you can focus more on the bigger picture.
Right.
You can focus more on the hiring of other positions, the HR aspect, making sure that you're buttoned up on those areas. But I think a lot of times people don't take that leap to really bring on, the right personnel. And it's important.
They're not ready to make that investment.
Well, yeah. And it can be nerve wracking, but
you got to get the A players, like spend the extra money, right?
Yes, I will say that, because you will go through 3 of the B, C's, and then you finally get your A, and you're just like, God, I wish I had you 5 years ago.
Yeah. And so how do you think your team would describe like your leadership style?
Oh God, I think they'd say Jen and I are very different.
Oh yeah, well, that's good. You balance each other.
I do. I think so. I try. I think for me, I let things go into a point where I have to step in, and then I just try to be as direct as I possibly can. And I think people flourish when they have direction, and I think the more that we've kind of buttoned up our leadership roles as far as goals, setting milestones, setting, objective, having more productive, efficient meetings so that people know what is expected of them, having that expectation outlined, I think is the key to having someone flourish in your building.
Yeah.
Just winging it, and people, because they don't know exactly which way you want them to go. Like you can give someone a task of, hey, I need you to grow my online.
Right.
But by what? What percentage? In what area? By what consumer? Like,
so be specific with your direction.
Be specific in your direction of what you need and what you want.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
That's a great tip, because if you're just given assignment and nobody knows when it's due or exactly the specifics of what you're looking for.
And there's always going to be a reaction, right? I mean, we all lived through COVID and we all had to react as quickly as we could. But if you're on the same page with your team, that is an easier process.
Yeah.
If you're not on the same page, you're all spinning wheels. Everyone's kind of frantic. So,
absolutely. Yeah,
have good meetings, make them efficient. We've really started trying to make our meetings as efficient as possible. Make sure you have your agendas outlined, because you can spend hours talking to people and brainstorming, but we don't have hours, right? We have a lot to do. So
yeah, that's the whole quick meeting is like the big thing now.
Absolutely.
So when you think about just the company culture in general, because I'm always thinking about the audience and thinking about like, this is such a cool product. And to your point, like people getting to know you, right? And like the culture behind the company and the product, like what's important to you about your culture, and how are you driving it every day?
Yeah, I think for us, there's a trust. We've embraced the work from home. We've embraced, allowing people to be flexible with their schedule.
That's great. That's big.
We're moms. I'm a mom. My sister's a mom. A lot of our key personnel are moms and dads, right? And I understand that, years ago it wasn't always family first. Well, for us, it's not family first, but we understand if you have to leave, you have to leave.
There weren't two working, you
had them. Someone stayed home, someone worked, and that's kind of how it went. And it's taken time, but we've really embraced having that flexibility, because at the end of the day, if you're getting your job done, that's all that matters.
All that matters, yeah.
And if you have a little bit of peace of mind because you have to go, attend to your child or a family matter, and or just live your life a little bit, then that's good, because I think mental health is huge right now.
Yeah.
And telling someone, no, you have to be in the office from these times to these times. No, there's no mental health there, And I think that the society as a whole, from a corporation perspective, that we've all shifted to that. I mean, they're slowly shifting back a little. And, I think we're kind of like in a happy medium for it.
Right. I think people are going to resumes are going to start pouring in. You're going to have to expand even more. You sound like an amazing leader.
That doesn't mean that we don't work hard, because I think if I had every staff member here, they could say there's never a boring day at Tempaper. There's always things going on. There's always opportunities. There's always, that's the thing about it. It's fast paced. There is a lot going on, and, you never want to burn someone out. So that's why I think, having a little bit of that flexibility and leniency kind of allows them to not have that.
Yeah. There's so many statistics about how culture drives results, and when you have a toxic culture, or one that's not transparent and authentic, people don't feel safe, or, mentally they're stressed or drained, it leads to, unproductivity, right? People
It
aren't going to
does.
get things done the way they will when they're happy.
It does. And I mean, I even feel it in myself. I mean, right? I mean, I might own the company, but I'm a person too, right?
Mhm.
Like I have things that happen and I try when I walk in the door to leave it, right? To show the positivity, to put the smile on, to make sure everyone feels the good energy. And even sometimes I can get into a funk and my sister will look at me and be like, yo, we got to shake this out, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, company happy hour.
I was going to say, that was going to be my suggestion.
Yeah. No,
So-
we do it. We do.
That's good. No, that's good. Yeah, because the culture is about like getting to know each other, and that's a balance again to your point about like being a leader, but also being close with your team. Tell me about some of the most difficult times that you've had in your journey here.
I mean, I will say there's two that I can talk through. I mean, the startup period was hard.
Mhm.
I mean, I mean, we went either, whether it was driving a van to Kentucky for a trade show, or, going out and sending 50 press releases that we handmade, I mean, it wasn't easy and not
Mhm.
making money, right? So you have to keep
Yeah.
going with an idea, knowing that you're not making money. And we're manufacturers. We have inventory. If anybody's, you have to lay a lot of money out to get your inventory before you sell it. So, there's
How does that work?
It's a cash, you can get into a cash tight situation until, sales
Do you have to
start coming
commit
in.
to like a certain amount of orders?
Yeah, so we have minimums we run with
Okay.
our manufacturer because our machines are extremely like 200 yards just to start it.
Mhm.
So you have to commit to, I mean, for us, it's 400 single rolls is a run for us.
Mhm.
We've adjusted the way we produce and we are doing a bit more digitally, which is shorter runs and allows us to test the market for design and pattern.
Mm.
And then if it's committed and we're seeing it kind of move, we'll go to the larger runs because it's more efficient
Okay.
and it costs less. So
A lot of logistics.
there is a lot of logistics.
Can we
to it.
talk about price?
Okay, wallpaper came in a double roll. That was the standard
Mhm.
size. It was 56 square feet, and we were pricing it around $98. Now we've introduced single rolls, especially being in the major retailers. It's a lower price point, but you're going to be able to buy a Tempaper roll for $44, $45.
Wow.
And I tell everybody like
Mhm.
that includes your adhesive, your labor. It's a DIY. You don't
Mhm.
have to commit to such a large purchase and you can still do it yourself and do a
Right.
huge accent wall, which instantly transforms your space.
It
I'm
really
telling you,
does,
it's
huh?
night and day. And some of the patterns we have, I mean, we do a lot of darks and like blacks do really well, but it's an instant transformation.
I saw that one like going up the stairs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that
Well,
was-
so it's small project as well.
Mhm.
So now that we have single rolls, you can do the back of your, kitchen backsplash. We do tile patterns. So if you're in an apartment and you can't commit to putting tile up, we've got a tile, and it feels like tile. It's raised. There's
Oh,
grout
really?
feel to it. Like we actually puff our inks so that it actually feels textured, like a brick
Oh,
wall. We
wow.
have a brick pattern that I used to put up at trade shows, and people would come in and say, "Is that? How did you get a brick wall?" in
Like
here?"
I thought
And
that
I'm
was
like,
brick.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
are the most popular places that you see people putting the Tempaper?
bathrooms, I
Mm.
would say, because typically you can't, wallpaper doesn't work well in bathrooms because of the
Mhm.
steam and the moisture. So for us, it's a vinyl coated product. It's non-breathable. So the humidity won't work its way in to affect the adhesive.
Mm.
And that was my my scientific
That was
explanation. But yeah, no, it's true though. You can absolutely put it in bathrooms. But it's, the sky's the limit. And I think we cater, like our designs, like you'll see is like a perfect behind your bed bedroom wall. I mean, now we do custom murals. We do a chinoiserie line that's absolutely gorgeous, all printed by the square foot, and the consumer can change colors and the pattern. But we had an artist in Shanghai hand paint our own chinoiserie wallpaper,
Wow.
which we then vectored in and are able to scale it and make it so it's their own. So
This
I
is
mean,
like-
that's a
there's
huge
so many
bedroom.
technicalities to this too, because you're using so much like digital technology and
Yes.
so much creativity, and then supply chain, and you're literally touching on almost like all the areas of business.
And that's what I do every day. And that's
Mhm.
why I love to talk about it because, and I mean, granted, and for anyone thinking about starting a business, like I didn't know all this day one, right?
Mhm.
Like, but a lot of this is just through process of, hey, we need to build on this. Let's do this. And the efficiency is huge, I think for us, and being able to have product that you might not have to stock 400 rolls and be able to test the market. But like I said, and really elevate the design, because for us, that was huge, is we
Yeah.
wanted to make things very high quality, very accessible, but have that look.
We're gonna show, and you're like, people are gonna be seeing the designs here and your website and your Instagram, because there's so much great stuff to see. And are there designs that are like most popular?
Yeah, definitely. We have our best sellers. I think they say 20% of your SKU assortment is going to carry your revenue. And then the rest are just kind of subjects and topics
Interesting.
and stuff. But yeah,
It's
we
kind
do.
of like the adage, like the Pareto's principle
Yeah.
in general, right? 20% of what you do
20%.
gives
So
you.
if you're selling, and actually I think we have 25%. So we were
Mhm.
happy that we were a little bit above the mark. But yeah, we have colors is what dictates what does well for us.
Mhm.
Might not be pattern, but I find the consumer gravitates towards blacks, blues, Right now we're in a dark phase, and it's sleek, it's elegant.
Yeah.
You know, you could put light woods with it. You know, it's really
Yeah.
easy to decorate with it.
So you're starting to see the evolution. Like, what do you envision for like the future of home decor in general? Do you have any future predictions?
You'd have to ask my sister on the trend piece part, but I mean, we actually Grasscloth. So for us, Grasscloth is huge, and something that we've actually taken it up a notch. So this is a perfect example of how we listen and we find a trend. Grasscloth's a trend. Okay. So not only do we have our peel and stick Grasscloth, but then we launched an authentic Grasscloth, which is hand woven in India, real Grasscloth. It's not peel and stick, it's permanent, and it's selling extremely well for us. We're very proud of it. We have micas, they're thick textures, like it's very high end. We actually have
in the small book.
Yeah.
Here? Okay.
That book can be found in all the Sherwin-Williams locations as well. So we took that and we were seeing the success of Grasscloth, and we know our peel and stick Grasscloth does very well. So then we said, well, we have these digital machines, right? We have different ways to print. So we started printing on our peel and stick Grasscloth that we've run through the big press. And now we're doing pattern printed peel and stick Grasscloth, which is amazing. Really cool. We just got back from High Point, the High Point Furniture Market 2 weeks ago.
That's in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yep. And
how was it?
The designers loved it. Actually, it was really, really good. You know, I wasn't sure with just the tariff conversation and how, you know, the headlines and everything going on. The buyers there were there to buy. It was an exciting thing to see. But designers would come in and they were just oohing and eyeing over this new line we did. And it was taking something that we knew was working, but then just making it a little bit better. And that's kind of an example of like how we push the boundary and
just
how
we constant innovation.
Constant innovation. Yeah, we took our best selling base color of Grasscloth and added pattern to it. Now it's like a ton of different, and it's a whole other collection.
It's pretty wild. It's like that's the constant in business, is like you don't just get somewhere and stay there. You consistently have to be looking at what's happening, looking at the trends, evolving, trying new things, and seeing
it's true.
What
and that's
sticks.
the part. Yeah, exactly. What sticks. That's gonna be our motto. And that's the part with business that, you know, people are like, what's the hardest part? And I think that's where we started with this conversation. But it is, I mean, starting a company, but then also continuing it and thinking and being on that forefront. You can have a great song as a singer, but you got to come up with another one, right?
Yeah,
like
that's a good point. Yeah, by the way, there's strategies to do that too. Like you come out with a whole album. Do you come out with one song? You know, how do you?
Well, how many times do you say whatever happens to that artist? You know, oh my God, that song was so great. I listened to it in high school. But it's the same concept in business.
We're going to see Shakira tonight.
Oh my God, my friend was just there.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, that's exciting.
Yeah, Daniela loves Shakira, so. Shout out to Shakira if you need some peel and stick.
Do a little bit of dance. We'll get you some peel and stick.
That's it, exactly. Tell us how you got into Martha Stewart and Architectural Digest.
So that was our upscale version of the chinoiserie. So we had a great PR, right? PR is big, and making sure you have the right press releases and the right people. And I think they really fell in love with the delicate floral chinoiserie and the color, and it actually landed on the cover. It was the cover of one of the Martha Stewarts, and we had our moment of our credit on the cover, and it was exciting.
Co-signed by Martha Stewart.
Exactly.
That's big.
But yeah, so I think for us it was just making sure we had that elevated look accessible, and then the higher end publications. You know, we work with Jeremiah Brent, and he, Nate Berkus, and he was our most recent launch in October. And he's really big with Arch Digest, and he does a lot. And I think they like what we're doing. And I think, we try to team up with the right people and the personnel and celebrity designers, and they like our look. But I think Arch Digest, the big quote we love is Tempaper is king when it comes to peel and stick wallpaper. If I could get a tattoo right on here, I would do it. Yeah.
It's like not even competition. I feel like, do you have competition?
We do have competition. Who? I won't say any names because we won't give them any credit, but we do have competition.
Yeah, they're not really competition.
I think there's different competitions for different sales channels for us, right? Whether there's an online company that's, listen, Spoonflower.
Yeah.
They're a huge competition. They print,
I never
custom.
heard of them.
Yeah, right. You edit that out. No. But yeah, there are, you have online competitors. We are, a part of all the major line reviews and all the major retailers. So there's the competitors that are constantly in there, and, price is a big piece of that, and making sure you give them the best price, and knowing your design is going to cater to their consumer, because, we design for Target, we design for Walmart. The consumer's different, right? You got to make sure that you can cater to the right consumer. So I think for us, our competition is just dependent upon the channel that we're in.
The channel that you're in, yeah.
But we stay true, like I said, even with the competition, to who we are and what we do. And I think that kind of resonates
important.
Well.
Yeah, that's big. I mean, it's just interesting to have. I mean, obviously there's other options, right, of what you can do with a wall, but this seems to be like it would be one of the most affordable options too. Because
Yeah,
again, like you're skipping the labor piece, you're able
Right.
to do it yourself.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of the online companies that are selling, they're selling it digitally. They're doing one-offs, right? So it's actually more expensive to do a shorter run than it is to do, invest in inventory and do a
And
large.
just hold on
It's
to it.
much, so that's why. And they're selling, panels versus rolls. They didn't keep the integrity of wallpaper, right? And that's kind of what I was talking to early on. Is like what we wanted to do is we're not just a company that's going to come in and come out. Like we wanted to be the household brand for peel and stick wallpaper. We wanted to be here to stay. And I think the evolution of our brand in the categories, it shows that we might not have started our company in 1900. It was, some of these wallpaper companies have been around forever. But, Tempaper started in the 2000s and we're here to stay,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. And now, can you put this like on top of wallpaper? I'm thinking about my mom's kitchen
Actually, you
right
can.
now.
We've had
She's
a
got
lot
the
of
worst
people.
wallpaper.
You can put it on top of wallpaper. It depends. Is it a textured wallpaper? Because you're going to see a little bit of that texture through it.
Underneath,
If
okay.
it's
It's
a
gotta be
smooth
flat.
wallpaper, yeah. And then we just don't guarantee the removal because it's not a painted prime
Right.
surface, which is
Apply
what we
at your
apply.
own risk.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
It
Tell us
might
about
not.
who you are outside of wallpaper.
Oh
What do
my
you do
God,
for fun?
I hang out with you. No.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Lucky me.
Yeah, no, I think I try to, always be a good person, but I'm, married, I have 2 kids. I love to, I got to get my workout in every day. You know that.
Yeah.
I like to be social and have fun. I kind of thrive on good energy. So I try to be around people that kind of bring that.
That's great.
That's kind
And
of
you're a
it.
runner. I always think about
I
the
am.
story when you were running. And you were like, a bug just flew into my mouth. Do you remember that?
I do remember. I saw
Yeah.
you at the bus
You were
stop.
like,
oh my God.
You were running. Like I was breathing through my mouth. No, I think about that all the time. We have another runner in the neighborhood.
I know she's been running forever. I want
Yeah.
to be friends with her.
Daniela wants to start
Yeah.
like a mom running
We
group.
should, because Daniela runs.
Then you
Oh my God,
knock
I
on
did
everybody's
see you
door. You get another.
when a bug
That
flew in
was
my
so
mouth.
funny.
That is really funny.
Yeah.
I think I was like vomiting.
So now
on the
you
side
know
of the
she's running around the
street.
neighborhood, not breathing correctly. You gotta go in through the nose,
out through the mouth.
Yes.
That's what I get for not doing that.
Well, now you learned. You'll never do that again.
That's really funny, actually. Yeah.
And so you're big on working out. Are you a big reader?
I used to be before my kids. I'll be honest. I used to read a book a week and I
Yeah?
loved it.
What would you read?
Honestly, for fun.
Fun
It
stuff?
was,
Just
just
you weren't like
fun stuff.
educational or.
No, I was like turn off my mind. Like a good mystery novel always was really good for me, and I loved it on the beach. Just at night. But now
You're a
with the
big beach
kids,
goer. You love the beach.
I try to.
Yeah.
The kids love it, and we're so close to it. We're so lucky where we live because we're right by the beach. Jersey Shore. So it's like you got to take advantage of it. But I guess with the kids, it's just gotten harder. They're still too young. But I try now. I do, and I do read a lot about business. I do love it. I read my market updates every morning. I get them in my emails on a weekly basis. So for me, I do read a lot about business.
What are your big like industry magazines that you have coming to
I
your
mean,
house?
Ink always is at my
Ink,
on my
okay.
desk, for sure. Yeah, but all of them. Like I try to read, online. I'll do the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, a different
Try to
perspective.
take it all in.
Yep. But I have a lot of emails that I get from like Chase, even just Chase Bank will put out a market, and then I'll read, some from my investment bankers that have some, and I just try to compare what's going on in the world.
Just to see a little bit of everything. It's very hard to keep up.
It's
There's
like
so
the
much
Cliff
information.
Notes version, so I don't
Yeah.
have to spend hours, but they kind of summarize it really
Yeah.
nice for me. But I never make sure I never miss that.
Just
And
get a little bit.
podcasts.
Mhm.
I do a lot of podcasts
Yeah.
lately, just how to balance work life, mental health, and just kind of understanding it all.
It's really great that we could take it because a podcast to me is like it's like the short version of a book, right? Like
Right.
if you wrote a book, like there'd be a lot more stories and a lot more description, but it's like you kind of get that, to your point, like that Cliff Notes version of like, who is this person? What do they do? How did they do it? What's their advice?
Totally. And I think it's for me, like you have a half-hour drive to work. I love music. I mean,
Mhm.
music is my soul. Like I
Yeah.
have to listen to music, but once in a while I'll drive and listen to a podcast, a
Mhm.
health podcast. Like I love that. Huberman
Yeah.
Lab, I'll give him a shout out. I think he's
Yeah.
great. He
You could put
summarizes
some
it.
LED lights in here with like the music, and it could like. I mean,
I'm
I could
big in music. I always have it on in the office.
Yeah,
I know
that's cool.
if it's not in my office, I'll make we have like a kind of open floor pen with like the art team, and
Oh,
I'm always
that's
like,
cool.
put music on. It's
So
too
it's
quiet
fun.
in here for me. Yeah.
What are you listening to when you listen to music?
It depends what I'm doing, right? Like if I'm working, it might be like a little bit
Classical.
more mellow, classical kind of focused music. But if I'm
Mhm.
working out, it's like the loudest club music I can
Yeah,
find,
yeah.
because
You gotta
it
have
makes
like
me run.
the rhythm.
Yep, exactly. Because I love to dance.
Yeah,
I think it's
that's
good for the
good.
soul.
You
Yeah.
have to. Yeah, music is like, it's the vibration, the feeling. It's how about sports? Are you into sports at all?
I mean, obviously now it's working out, so I think that is my sport. But
Mhm,
I mean,
okay,
I love
love
my
that.
gym. But back, I was actually an all-star cheerleader. So
wow.
yeah, my
Okay.
sister and I used to do all-star cheering, and my
Oh, that's
daughter just
cool.
got into it, which is exciting.
Are you competitive?
Me as a person,
Mhm.
yes,
You are?
of course.
What motivates you?
I mean, I don't want to beat someone else out. I think I'm competitive with myself.
Okay.
It's my
You're competing
own.
against
Yeah,
what you can achieve in your life.
I think it's more like what I can achieve and kind of putting that on myself, which I think is kind of necessary to be in business and do what you're doing, because you kind of have to have that.
Yeah, but it's interesting because like everything, I always ask like my team, you know, because I have a team of like bankers and I do some coaching, and I always ask people like, what is it that motivates you? Like, what's waking you up every day with that like desire, like to get up, to get going, to beat through the stress. And like some people are very motivated by like the thing that they're going to get or have, like that experience in life or you know, whatever. Some people are motivated by like being the best.
Right.
Just like, I want to be the greatest. I want to be the
best
I
don't
could
think for me, it's being the best or the greatest. I think for me, it's that feeling like closing a deal or just launching a new product that you see, you know, that is a feeling. I mean, that is like it's like hitting a home run in baseball. I could imagine. I don't think I've never hit one.
It's like cheering, like
it's
hitting
like,
the sticking the move
hitting
and
that,
cheering.
That one stunt, you know, and it's true because it's that feeling, that gratitude that you get inside. It motivates you to get to that next thing because, you know, that's that. I chase that, you know?
Yeah. You're hard work. You're up in early mornings, working out, getting to the office, 2 kids at home that you're, you know, bus stop, rendezvous. But so I'm curious because, you know, you stepped out into social media pretty well. You have a really tremendous following on Instagram. You're out in the digital world all the time. Do you see like Gary Vee, I don't know if you know the name Gary Vee, but he always talks about like the evolution of shopping. I don't know if like you get on like the TikTok trends where people are like live and they're like selling things all the time.
I mean,
do you think that's going to be like a component of
I do.
Like selling, like somebody's going to be selling this? Oh, you want this one? You want this one? Click here, buy it.
I think influencer marketing is huge.
It's
Affiliate
big, right?
marketing is big. I think it's actually adjusted. PR has changed because of it. Like it's not your stand. Like PR is different completely. You know, back in the day, it was just a story. Now there's a whole other element to it. But yes, I do. I think online social media is here to stay. There's a change to it though. Like they make one tweak to the privacy settings, and then you have to start all over.
Like,
so it's very frustrating.
The algorithm's
the algorithm.
like
you're like, oh my
Google,
god, why am I not on top anymore? Well, just like our website and SEO. I mean, it's huge. You know, and that's the thing you have to stay on top. It's just another area of business to stay on top of. But I do. I think it's here to stay, and I think we have a good marketing team, and we try to create as much content as we can. But you know, it's a full-time job.
Yeah, just doing the marketing side.
Just doing that.
Is AI changing your space at all?
It's a good question. Yes, I think for us, I've started to use it, and we're not, you know, full-blown AI users, but like there's chatbots for customer service that you can get involved in. It can help you clean up emails. It can help you research things.
Have you used any of the email ones yet? I just read about the one that like will go through your email and like flat.
Well, so I just upgraded my phone, or I had to get a new phone, and it's on there, and it asked me, and I was like, you know, let me see what it is. But it does. It summarizes the email, like so you can read it real quick and then have the full email below it. So I think for people that have a lot of tasks, like I think that for our organization is what we're going to use it for. You know,
can you take out email somehow for us next? You and your sister.
I'm going to invent that.
I hate email. Like
it's something I love emails.
So old.
It's like a text.
It's so antiquated though. Like it's so like it hasn't evolved at all. It just is what it is since it started. It's like all these messages and all these conversations.
Well, I think people tend to just email, and then you have like a conversation that takes you 20 minutes to get through, where they just should pick up the phone and call someone.
It lacks efficiency.
I do agree with that. Yeah.
Next invention.
All right, I'll put that on the list.
Please. Come on, you're my Thomas Edison over here. I always think of those stories of how many, you know, times it like somebody failed in order to succeed, like Dyson with the bagless vacuum cleaner. And
it's true.
You go way back to like Edison, or just so many people that have been rejected and haven't been able to, you know. And
you know what? You're still rejected. I mean, we still have line reviews that we don't get the business for. We still have patterns we launch that don't sell. You kind of, and it's true, like you stop, you know, the reviews, right? You get a really great review and then someone writes an awful review, and I want to call that consumer and be like, you're talking about my child. Like this was my firstborn. Like, you know,
like take your earrings
off.
We're
like, we're doing the best to keep the price down, to keep the quality up. I mean, there's a lot of elements that go into it. I mean, and it's just gotten harder, but yeah, I think, you know, we think about those things and things that we see, you know.
Yeah, it takes time. It takes time. And there's always something you're learning. And I absolutely love this. I can't wait to put some in my home. If you guys want to check out Tempaper, how can they find you?
You can go to our website, tempaper.com, and you'll see all of our, I mean, our website is great. We have all of our patterns. You can upload images of your space, and it can render the pattern in for you to help you make a decision. There's a great calculator if you don't know, you're worried about how much square footage. We also try to help you find you an installer if you need that. Please. And there's a lot of videos that we've done that shows you how to install it, you know, where to install it, just tricks of the trade. So
That's great.
definitely check out our website, tempaper.com. Go and follow us on Instagram. We're constantly posting, you know, different consumers and what they're doing with the product, as well as our newest collaborations and who we're working with. So please follow us. And I think that's, you'll probably put it up, Tempaper_designs
on
designs.
Instagram.
Yep.
I'll put all the information to reach out in the description section. And I'm excited that, you know, hopefully more people that have already been using you get to know you a little bit better from this interview. And then I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that just maybe didn't know that this exists.
Well, yeah, and that's why I was so happy when you invited me on, just not personally, but it's always good. So thank you for the platform. I think what you're doing is pretty cool too. I'm
like so incredibly impressed by you. I have been since day one. Everything you've accomplished and you know, just what you've created is really, it's inspiring. I hope it inspires the audience.
I hope so too, because we believe in it. We still do. So after many moons.
That's it. They still believe it. That's awesome. Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you for coming today. And guys, tune in, comment below, like the video, share it with someone if you think this was a great episode, and we hope to see you again soon.